Nux vomica is a remedy which is perfect for the typical type A male personality. This man is somebody who overworks and overplays. He's so ambitious, competitive. He drives himself at work and he drives the others as well. He can be impatient, he can be irritable, and he is really what you'd call the workaholic, addicted to his work. And not only is he addicted to his work, but he tends to become addicted to coffee, alcohol, cigarettes, the things that keep him going while he's trying to work. So if you recognize yourself in that personality profile, or you recognize your husband or your partner or even your son, they could probably benefit from Nux vomica. Now, Nux vomica for a personality type like this is really what we call the constitutional homeopathic remedy. And I generally don't like to recommend people to take their constitutional remedy unless they're under the guidance of a professional homeopath. But in the case of Nux vomica, this picture is so clear and easy to recognize that I think it can be very helpful for you to try it. And you can buy the Nux vomica at any health food store.
So I've heard that Nux vomica can be used as some kind of a hangover remedy.
Well, it's often called the hangover remedy because it can be used in the occasional situation where somebody overindulges in food, overindulges in drink, maybe even just overindulges in coffee. And so it has that name. But it can also be useful if somebody just overstresses themselves occasionally, a one-off kind of thing. If they get that picture of irritability, very sensitive, very, very driven, and generally the Nux vomica person gets the GI upset. So for that kind of situation, you can try Nux vomica. But if the hangovers and the overwork becomes chronic, then really it's needed as a chronic constitutional remedy. And if you try it as a chronic constitutional remedy and it doesn't relieve your stress within 4 to 6 weeks, then you should really seek the help of a professional homeopath or a therapist. So Emily, how about some other specific men's health issues like enlarged prostate? Are there some herbal supplements for benign prostatic hypertrophy?
Yes, benign prostatic hypertrophy, or BPH, is common as men age. It's important for you to recognize the symptoms of BPH, which include frequent urination, urinary retention, difficulty starting or stopping your urine stream, or noticing a decrease in the force of urination, getting up at night to use the restroom. One of the reasons BPH develops is because of excessive levels of dihydrotestosterone, a byproduct of testosterone. Excessive dihydrotestosterone contributes to enlargement of the prostate. Finasteride is the drug that is used to treat symptoms of BPH, and it works by a mechanism of decreasing an enzyme that converts to dihydrotestosterone. It turns out that there's an herb called saw palmetto which works in the same mechanism. The good news is that saw palmetto works just as effectively as finasteride according to studies in cases of mild to moderate BPH and does not have the side effects that the drug does. Now, Cindy, are there some remedies that you can use for other men's issues such as ED or erectile dysfunction? That's something common in men, isn't there?
Yes, there are definitely some homeopathic remedies for that. Before we talk about them, though, I would like to talk a little bit about the causes and the incidence of erectile dysfunction. If you look at the sheer number of ads on the television and in magazines about erectile dysfunction, you would think that everybody experiences this difficulty. Actually, in fact, for men age 40, it only occurs in about 5% of the men. And for those age 65, it occurs in about between 10 and 25%. The causes of erectile dysfunction in the older men in particular are serious diseases like diabetes, cardiovascular disease, liver disease, kidney disease. Any of these can lead to erectile dysfunction. And of course, the disease itself has to be addressed first as the primary issue in that case. Some other things like smoking, obesity, and a sedentary lifestyle can also lead to erectile dysfunction. So making those kinds of lifestyle changes is also a very good idea.
Do some drugs cause erectile dysfunction?
Oh, very definitely. A lot of common drugs can cause erectile dysfunction as a side effect. Antihistamines, antihypertensives, anti-anxiety drugs, antidepressants, and anti-ulcer drugs, among many others, can lead to erectile dysfunction. If you begin to experience erectile dysfunction and you are taking any of those medications or any long-term medication, check with your doctor to see whether it's a side effect of the medication, and he may be able to change your prescription so that you don't have to experience that as a side effect. Now, there are also psychological causes of erectile dysfunction, including guilt, feeling of failure, low self-esteem. These actually account for about 10 to 20% of the cases. If you experience any of those emotions and then find yourself experiencing erectile dysfunction, particularly for the first time, you could try several homeopathic remedies which may help you in your particular situation. For example, Agnus castus is a good homeopathic remedy which can relieve erectile dysfunction when the person who experiences it suddenly feels like a failure for whatever reason. It can be in their work, it can be in their home life or in their finances. But if you experience erectile dysfunction and you feel it has to do with feeling like a failure, try Agnus castus. With Agnus castus, there is a normal desire for sexual activity, but just the inability to perform. In contrast, in the case where the sexual desire is lost and the man becomes extremely shy about the whole situation, a good remedy to try in that situation is baryta carb. With baryta carb, you can have a kind of a insensitivity of the genitals, maybe even a numbness or even coldness. If you have that pattern and it's in a situation where it's a very shy type of person, then baryta carb might be useful. And finally, conaium is a good remedy to use if you've had a very prolonged abstinence from sexual activity and on restarting you find yourself unable to perform. This might occur if you are recently widowed and you have a period of time where you have no sexual activity. These are cases where if you take the homeopathic remedy at the outset of the erectile dysfunction, you may be able to prevent it from becoming chronic. If, on the other hand, you are already suffering from chronic erectile dysfunction, then your best approach would be to seek help from a professional homeopath. A well-matched homeopathic constitutional remedy can very often resolve the situation of erectile dysfunction. Now, Emily, are there any herbs for erectile dysfunction?
Yes, there are many, and it really just depends on the cause of ED. Viagra, which is a drug used to treat ED, works by increasing the nitrous oxide cycle, increasing vasodilation and blood flow to the penis, causing an erection. Amino acid called arginine actually works on the nitrous oxide cycle, and that can be used for ED. And Cindy, are there any homeopathic remedies or cases that you see for men, such as injuries, muscle soreness, insomnia, and database?
Yes, there are quite a few things which men can experience on the job or at home while they're out mowing the grass, or if they have a particularly physical, laborious job. There are lots of situations where homeopathic remedies can benefit. I won't go through all of them because there's so many, but I'll pick out a few favorites. For example, arnica is a remedy which can be useful in very many situations of injury. Arnica is a great remedy for bruises, cuts, contusions, even concussions. It helps to prevent swelling or to reduce swelling, and it helps the wound to heal. Another pair of remedies which are really useful in sprains and strains are Rustox and Ruta graveolens. Rustox is used for the the kind of muscle strain where the muscles feel extremely stiff and painful. And they're worse in the morning when you've been lying still all night and you first start to move. That's when they're the most painful. They only get better if you start moving around. If you have that profile, then Rustox would work for you. On the other hand, you can use Ruta graveolens for muscle strains and joint pain, which is a really heavy, intense, painful situation which is not relieved by any motion. Another favorite of mine is Apis mellifica. Men outside can get insect bites and bee stings, and Apis is great for those kinds of bites or stings where there's a lot of heat and a lot of swelling and redness. And finally, the last remedy which I'd like to talk about is homeopathic coffea. If you experience an occasional insomnia that's based on excitement, overexcitement, it can be about something bad or about something good, but that is a perfect situation in which to use homeopathic coffea. And coffea is a great remedy to remember the homeopathic principle, which is that like cures like. In any of these at-home care situations, you must be careful to be sure that if you've got a serious injury or any kind of condition that you do seek medical attention. But while you're on the way to the doctor or even on the way to the emergency room, if it's an emergency, you can always take a homeopathic remedy as well. At the end of our show, we'll show you some list of books which you can learn more about at-home care with homeopathy, and we'll show you a website where you can learn more about courses and workshops in the Boston area.